منو منو راح شاطئ الشويخ الجديد؟ شاطئ الشويخ. شاطئ الشويخ، اوكي. منو راح الاريا اللي حوالين ابراج الكويت بعد التجديد؟ اوكي. اللي راح اكثر من مرتين، اكثر من 3 مرات، اكثر من 4 مرات؟ اوكي. قبل لا يجددونها كنتوا تروحون هالكثر؟ الحين هذا اللي بنعرف ليش انتوا صرتوا تروحون. كرييتيف بليس ميكينج، شلون تخلي المكان كرييتيفلي جاذب حق الناس، جاذب حق الزباين، جاذب حق المبدعين. فأبي أرحب بالمودريتر حسين جوهري. حسين جوهري موجود؟ موجود. And please حياك الله. شو تفضل. وراح يحاور اتمنى اني قاعد اقول الاسم صح. ريكاردس بلازوكس من وفت. Did I say your name right?
Sorry? Yeah. Correct. Correct.
Please. وعبدالله المزيني.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our panel. I am super excited to be part of this panel. I've been preparing a lot of questions, but of course, due to the short time, we'll try to tackle the most important questions. Now, of course, we're here to talk about why creative placemaking is good business and good for business. I believe that's what we need to discuss as well. So it's not just about, of course, making spaces beautiful. It's more than that, and that's what we're here to discuss. But let me first introduce my guests. Our first guest is an architect and creative director whose work beautifully blends architecture, interior design, and branding, creating spaces that are both thoughtful and distinctive. Please welcome the founder and creative director of WIFT, Ricardas Blazukas. And also joining us as well, our second guest, bridges design, storytelling, and strategy, crafting hospitality and dining destinations that connect people through culture and experience. Please welcome the creative director and design lead at Gastronomica and founder of Studio Muz, Abdulla Al-Muzaini. Now, we're done with the introduction. Let's get down to the fun part. That's what people are here for. They want to know a lot about placemaking. I will start with Ricardas, please. I see, of course, that you get a lot of clients in this business. There are a lot of clients who would want to get the shortcut and kind of go for the lower cost branding or design. They don't want to go for the higher value. And they don't see the value of how placemaking is important in the business and how it helps the business. So how do you convey, how do you take that client and make him understand the value of doing that for his business? And there are also some clients who have the financial ability to spend a lot of money into, let's say, branding and design and interior, but however, they don't have the proper concept down, and now you have to change that as well. So how do you approach these, both clients?
Amazing, good question. I'll just start very quickly just to say thank you so much everyone for coming here, and obviously I'm very excited to be on the panel with you guys and share my perspective on this topic. To answer your question, I think, first of all, I have to frame it to our clients that it has to be a business decision. It can be something that's just you want it or not. It's a personal preference or a personal aesthetic. Because if we think about F&B market in Kuwait, it's very dynamic. And your identity is your media, and your environment is essentially your social media page. If we think about how we discover new places in Kuwait, it's literally either someone tells you about it, you'll go immediately on Instagram, check this brand's account. Maybe the algorithm is going to show it to you, or maybe you're going to be driving past, the street, and you'll see something unique that captures your attention. So that identity is so important, and if it's appealing, it becomes essentially this welcome card, the invitation towards your first customer. So we talk to our clients a lot about this. There's generic brands that essentially compete on just prices and discounts. And the unique brands that have a unique character, those are the brands that compete for customer loyalty. So the ideas of the brand being worthy of sharing on social media, talking about and creating the customer recall as well. So if we imagine generally, on Thursday night, going out with our friends, we're going to think about maybe 5 spots that we want to go have dinner at. And out of the endless options that are there, you won't think about all of them, right? You're going to think about the specific ones. And these are the clients that invest in architecture, interior design, branding, uniforms, accessories, to create that premium perception for their brands, to have that unique identity. And in this way, that pitch is quite simple. Essentially, it results in low cost acquisition of the customer and the lifetime value for each guest. And I think for your business, this is the best ROI essentially that you could expect.
Absolutely, that's totally true. And for Abdullah, please, of course, in the fast-moving world of F&B, you get to experience, to be part of, let's say, making the design or making the interior or building the concept or the idea, or you would get something that's already set and you would need to work on it. Let's say, for instance, how do you figure out and say, this concept works, this is the idea? Like, what elements are you looking for? What is it? What are the things that you want to push in the project or in the design or in the branding itself? And then you would say, this absolutely works. This would give a lasting impression.
So basically, the process goes into multiple phases. We start with research. We try to understand the brand. What defines the brand as on a branding point of view? We extract the element. We see the touch points, the storytelling part of the brand, and we translate that into spatial requirements. What sort of feelings you want to evoke in that space? What is the experience you want to curate for the customer coming in? I think I'm just self-reflecting on what I do, especially being on the client side of things. We do concept creation from scratch. So we do the full ideation. We try to build a brand that we could expand on in the future. So every decision in the planning stage matters to us. How does this brand resonate within the customer perception? How expandable is this brand in the future? So every single touch point, from branding to uniforms to marketing, all together comes in to create a brand. So it's a very dynamic process.
That's amazing. I love the fact that you mentioned feelings into this, because you also, like both of you, put this into consideration. What is the feeling that I want to give to the customer or to the audience who are coming into that experience or into that place that I'm making? So what are normally the feelings that you would normally, your go-to feeling that you want the customer or the audience to have when they experience a place or a project that you worked on?
When it comes to experience, we have 2 major elements that we tackle mostly in the work that we do. It's lighting and acoustical design. Because based on what kind of level of premium do you want to feel, there's a lighting level standards established for that. So through these parameters, we do tend to establish certain emotion. We provoke certain emotion. For example, a restaurant can be candlelit, which stimulates a feeling of intimacy, a good sense of privacy. Sure. So these factors, they help us in creating some sort of we try to isolate people from what's happening outside. The minute they step into our spaces, they try to disconnect, to be in the place, to be present in that space with the help of the music and all the elements all together.
I can definitely relate to that because my dear wife always sends me all these restaurants that she wants to visit, and the ones for like anniversary definitely are different from the one when she's just like really hungry and wants to just go eat. So you'll see a variety of feelings in terms of what she's picking into what experience that she would like to have into each place that she wants to go to. Now for Ricardas, I want to ask you, when designing a place, of course, any business owner would want to cut costs, doesn't want to spend that much money into a project, especially if it's going to cost them a lot. Is there a way, or are there any materials that you can play around with into cutting down costs, but still get that feeling that you want to get, or that experience, maybe a luxury experience, but not with very expensive, like costly material? Are you able to get that?
Yeah, to be honest, on most projects that we work on, because they're small to medium scale, this is sort of the everyday challenge that we have with most clients. Timelines for clients is the first question that they would ask. You know, how long does it take for us to design it? But even then, they want to have it built very, very quickly. And if they go with a firm like Weft, where we take the time to design a unique concept for them, then they realize that, okay, maybe I'll spend more time on design, but I really need to get this built because they have to pay rent and so on. And that means essentially that there's no lead time to bring in materials from abroad, special materials, you know, and we have to work essentially with what's already available in Kuwait. So we always think about this a lot, and you know, this is a nice challenge for us to have at Weft because we love a challenge like this. You know, there are materials out there, but we can think about them not just in simple terms of, you know, here's a material, it's beautiful, let's use it. But there's so many different ways in fabrication how we can take a specific material and simply work with it to achieve something else. You know, whether you take marble, some sort of wood, I don't know, some sort of solid surface material, you could, you know, polish it, you could make it rough, you could bush hammer it, you could sandblast it. You know, and the way you use two materials, maybe using a solid material with a transparent one to create some sort of interesting translucency effect, things like that. Essentially, the combinations are endless. So, you know, that's really nice. We try to work like this, and the material doesn't always have to be expensive. You know, in many cases, we would go for something that we feel, would we spend money on this? You know, and if we would, then we can specify this for the client, or, you know, we'll go for something that's a material of good value. It doesn't have to be expensive, but how we treat it is what makes it really special.
That's amazing. And speaking of Weft and the projects that you guys have done, where do you see that you guys made a design that turned a regular space into a true destination from the projects that you've done in your company?
I'll talk about this one project that we've done earlier this year to answer your question here, which is Corn Club in Grain. In terms of scale, it's not sort of the most important project that we've done, but I think in terms of what you would see as that location, you know, how much potential it didn't have much. But what we achieved, I think, it's pretty special. So it's this commercial complex in Grain that, you know, it's a very low budget build, but it's commercially a very good location for our client. And they invited us and said, hey, look, this 40 square meters unit, which is tiny, it's just literally a dark corridor, essentially. They said, we want to create an amazing interior design experience for Corn Club. This is going to be the first concept that has interior design, because most of their concepts has just a pickup window. Yeah. And they said, you know, so half of the space is going to be the kitchen. We're left with 20 square meters, and they're like, we want people to come, take different angles, you know, photos, etc. And we're like, how are we going to do that in this place? There's no space. There's no place to even put any tables, you know, let alone have space then for people to come and order at the order counter. But the way we approached this concept, you know, we started thinking about, okay, instead of us just putting the facade and then try to fit the program inside, why don't we start with it? So our facade in this case, it was this stepped facade that steps inside, and so creates the seating from the interior. And because it goes into the interior, we carved out the space from the outside to have a bench for outdoor seating as well. And then because the facade becomes so deep, we created this very long passage with a yellow corn door at the end that again sort of created a very unique moment. And that step facade is also yellow tinted. So when you look from outside, you see that everything is yellow. But once you go through that door, it opens up, you see the colors of the brand, and then as the light comes through that yellow tinted glass, the blue counter becomes green. And as the sun moves, there's that transition of color. And then the kitchen, fully lit, open fully to the customer, builds that sort of transparency for this brand. It's a very theatrical experience. So you sit on the steps, you have that, convex mirror to take selfies that immerses you in this brand. And I think, that's sort of a really beautiful thing that we've created from something that looked like you can't do anything exciting here. We really created an entire journey of moments for their customers. And this is sort of the beautiful thing about, designing something. It's not just about using a beautiful material, like what we talked about in the previous question, but also what kind of story we create. And if we tell a story in this concept with intent, that makes that unit into this unique world, and that's what makes it a destination. People want to come and be part of it.
I absolutely loved it because I saw it on social media, and as soon as I saw the photo, I said, I want to go there. That's like the first impressions. I was like, I'll take you. I promise you. Just one day we'll go out. But yeah, it's a beautiful. So the challenge that you had is what kind of pushed you guys to make that creatively in that space that you guys had. This is amazing. Going back to Abdulla again, of course, you've also worked on several standout projects. Is there one project that really showed how design became the business advantage? And I really want to tap into John, because this is a place that, of course, a lot of people have visited, and the concept that you've got. I would really like to dive more into what happened with that project and how it came together.
Okay, so the first part of the answer will be about how design became a challenge, not a benefit to our project. When we were in the planning phase of Milk Bun, it was initially planned to be a QSR. So operationally, we were looking at fast food restaurants and how we can create an accessible burger joint to the consumer. But when we talked about design, we looked at different case studies like Aesop to create a very nice, sleek interior. The result that the overly designed space created a different set of expectations to the consumer, that the brand felt a little bit not as approachable as it should be. So over design actually created a negative impact on the business itself, even if it was a pleasant space and photogenic. On the other hand, we have John. First challenge is the fact that it's a pop-up. It's a seasonal pop-up. So the investment should recover itself over the course period of its operations. It's more than 5,000 square meter. It should be exciting. It has a lot of operational challenges altogether. So I think what we did is that we curated a journey for the customer, and we identified key touch points where we think this is going to be impactful. And then we did our investment of design in these touch points. So we played with different volume of spaces. You go from a closed space to an open space to a wider open space. We try to capitalize on the view that we have to create that kind of a nice proximity to the beach, because Kuwait has a lot of beaches, but you don't have a lot of properties with this proximity to the seaside. And then at night, we played with light a lot. So you create some sort of an immersive experience. We treated it as a playful space where we can introduce themed night by playing with the experiential parameters, the sound, the lighting, which was surprisingly meeting the budget. Lots of landscape, but at the end of the day, the business made sense by the end of the first season. Now the new season, creating such spaces gives a lot of pressure on developers to bring something new, because people are always seeking something new. It's the fact that it's a pop-up, that there's a huge expectation of creating a new experience. And this year we try to expand. We learned from our mistakes from the season before. We try to curate a space that feels more intimate to the people. So we created multiple spaces. We've introduced Republic for the first time, and it feels like you're in a tropical setting. because we made the staging of the space. You go from a space to another, then you go into this courtyard, and then that courtyard opens to the beach. So you're completely in isolation from everywhere else. And that feels very, very nice in Kuwait, you know? We don't get such spaces. So yeah, it was an interesting journey, honestly.
I love the fact that you mentioned about a place being just photogenic, because I've heard that a lot when people want to start businesses. They say, just make the place look good and people will come. And I say, that will be just the first impression. It'll be also for like a short period of time. You mentioned giving them a journey, an immersive experience. So it's not just about decorating the place in a nice way. They need to come and experience something so they can come back again to experience that again and again and again, because, okay, it's going to look good. I'm going to take a picture there, and then that's about that. I have the picture. The experience of just taking a picture lasts for that moment, just there. So I love the fact that you say you just don't focus on the photogenic side of the project. I need to give the experience, and I need to give people a journey. I really love that. Okay, now moving to talking about areas in Kuwait and scouting places and looking for the right location. Are there places that you walked by, or any like project, public or private, like you saw something and you'd be like, placemaking in that area would have worked really well if I can just do something there?
That's a question
Yes.
for me. All right. Yeah, I think to be honest, Kuwait is literally full of potential. And you know, when I came to Kuwait in 2014, the goal was I'll stay here for a year, just get some interesting experience and leave. But the reality is I stayed here. Now 11 years later, you know, I'm here. I have my own business, and the reason that WEFT exists really because Kuwait has so much potential to do something really interesting here. And in terms of specific location, I mean, it's hard to tell, but there's just so many, you know, and there's so much, I think, context for us to do something unique in Kuwait. A lot of beautiful architecture that we see from, you know, the previous times, essentially, that can, you know, inspire us. And of course, it's sad to see that a lot of the old architecture is also getting demolished, but whenever we see real estate developers try to maintain that architecture, you know, or rebuild it in the same way in the past, obviously that is a huge thing for Kuwait.
Yeah, and of course, when tackling projects, you both spoke about projects, is it more fun to have challenges? I always like to be challenged. Is it more fun to have challenges where you're limited with what you can do in terms of, let's say, maybe resources, or is it more fun to be like, oh, I've got everything, I have everything that I need to do this project, and it's more fun for me this way? Abdullah, what do you think?
Actually, throughout my experience, I realized that challenges do actually influence your work in not necessarily a negative manner, actually a positive manner. Sometimes a challenge becomes an intention. And for us as designers, whenever we get a challenge on site, certain things do not go as expectation, you have something that does not reach on time. It's how you problem solve the situation that could actually bring in another thing that was not intended before, and that creates value on its own. So our workflow is very dynamic. As long as the end result does not look like something that was not intended, I think you're good. It's just that a challenge usually creates a good, it's like a design brief for me. Challenges, I translate them into design briefs, and I think a certain limitation in a space, if you have a low ceiling, you can actually make an experience based off of that. So it's just how you look at it that could change your perspective on the design itself.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Of course, now with Kuwait strong food and social culture, there are always new businesses starting. Everybody wants to make an impression with what they can do as an experience. Is there something outside of your company's work, this question is for both of you, that an experience in Kuwait here that you like to go and enjoy from time to time? Ricardas.
I mean, I'm happy that I'm here with Abdullah, you know, because obviously things that Gastronomica is doing in Kuwait is very unique, and they always stay, you know, ahead of the market. But at the same time, you know, I think generally as WEFT, we're positioned in a quite fortunate situation where the way we started is with a certain identity of projects that we do. So the clients in Kuwait that want to do something different and unique, they're the ones that come to us, you know. So we see, obviously, we work with a lot of clients that think a lot about storytelling through their concepts, where this unique identity is so important for them. So we see, you know, a lot of things that they're doing, and not only that we do something amazing, but they inspire us to do great things as well.
Absolutely, that's amazing. Abdullah, same question for you.
I think the space downstairs, they installed the new pavilion.
Yes.
I think it's an interesting intervention, because this showcases how much potential we have in spaces that are neglected. I mean, I remember last year I was here in the same complex, and that space was vacant. Now it's a nice hub for SMEs to be active, to introduce new coffee shop pop-ups every now and then. So such interventions, I think they're very great, and they bring in, they bridge the gap between what design could be in a public space, as well as how to create opportunities for SMEs at the same time. So that level of intervention, more of this across Kuwait, would be very great for us.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. Now, I have a lot more questions, but of course, we don't have much time. I would like to thank you both for joining me for this panel. However, if we have some time left, I would love to see if the crowd has any questions for our speakers, since, you know, I see people raising their hands. Hadi, please.
Thank you so much. I know creating a space is already difficult, but I would love to know curating a team to create this space. How difficult is that? Because I know a lot of businesses that created things design-wise, but they ended up being botched or something, so they lost a lot of money. So I would love to know, how do you create a perfect team to help create your vision?
That's a good question. I don't have that here. Thank you. Please start.
I love the question, because, you know, this is sort of the daily challenge that we, you know, face at WEFT from the very beginning, is finding like-minded people that could contribute to the vision of WEFT, to the identity of WEFT, or very different people that have, you know, different sort of ideas, but somehow are a perfect fit for us. The way we do it, to be honest, you know, we've been growing for the past 5 years in a very slow way. And slow way not because there's low demand. There is a lot of demand in our services, but it's literally for that reason that we realized perhaps hiring very talented people that have done a lot is actually very hard, because they're on their own agenda. They've learned things a certain way, and they do want to do things differently. And what worked so far the best for us, that WEFT becomes this almost like an educational incubator. You know, young creatives that join our studio somehow, you know, learn the way that we work, and it's a very slow process of integration. You know, but it is amazing to simply see how our ideology, things that we're doing, that little spark that we had at the beginning, and as that team grows, you know, the new people join and they learn from us, and that cycle sort of continues. So it's slow growth, but it's also sort of, it is spreading. You know, it's sort of one person first, then two to four, 4 to 8. It's that kind of thing. So it's a lot of patience and a lot of effort from our side.
Absolutely. Abdullah, if you want to answer the question as well.
I agree with the Ricardas. I think it's not actually creating a team, it's actually building a team. You have to create this the sense of mentorship. You have to foster talent. You give back, you know, and slowly, by the time you invest in a talent, you grow together, and that it's an extension of your own design into someone's brain, which collectively creates a studio. It's no one works solo. A studio is never a person. The process is not about one lead design. It's always the team behind the lead design that facilitated the vision of the lead. And that takes time, mentorship, and leadership.
And I want to add something additionally to this question as well. Like, for example, just earlier this week, we announced that we're hiring a person at WEFT. We're looking for a design architect. And, you know, internally, we have this conversation about, like, what kind of person do we need? You know, should it be someone experienced? How many years? How do we write this description of who that person should be? And we realized that, you know, the options are so little that we have to keep it as open-ended as possible. So we're essentially looking for anyone, whether you're just freshly graduated, maybe you didn't even study architecture, or maybe you have a lot of experience, but you have something unique about you. We're literally looking as broadly as possible in Kuwait, outside of Kuwait. As long as we find that right talent that we think would be a perfect fit, that's what it is about.
That's amazing. And are you guys both looking to expand your team more in case anybody wants to come and talk to you after this?
Yes, at the moment, yes.
Okay.
Design architect, we have desk available, so tell a friend, tell a friend.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Do we have time for another question? All right. Unfortunately, this is our time. Thank you, everybody who attended our panel. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for enjoying this panel. And going back to, of course, Ahmed, thank you, please, for not taking any notes while I'm doing this in English. I really appreciate you.
No. You would take notes for me. Not the way around.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Husain. Thank you, Mr. Ricardas.
Thank you, sir.
Abdulla Al-Muzaini. For a group picture, please.